Do you ever worry that your communication skills are lacking so badly that it's costing you a tremendous number of opportunities in your life? It could be dates that don't ever fully connect, and you get ghosted a lot. It could be friends who never really draw closer to you, even though you want them to. It could be job prospects or promotions that you don't get, so your finances never get better. The harsh truth is that communication is everything in your life. Communication is the way that you express what's inside outwardly so that you can be understood by other people. So if you can't express yourself, if you can't communicate, then you're essentially locked inside of yourself and you're going to be misunderstood by everybody else until you fix this problem. Now, the good news is that all communication skills are always learned. No baby is born knowing how to communicate like a master. I'll tell you, I have 5 kids. You have to train them up from the time they are small. That's why they cry. That's the only communication they have. Everybody starts out crying. Some people grow beyond that. And I hope that you will. And we're going to teach you how. This means, the good news is, that you can learn every communication skill out there. You just have to understand. Then you'll have all the pieces you've been missing until now. So by the end of this video, you're going to master the #1 approach to communication that is going to change every interaction you ever have for the rest of your life. And this is going to give you a solid foundation to keep building from until you are communicating like a professional at the level you've always dreamed of. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I've been training in psychology and relationships for 15 plus years. I've got a master's degree in psychology. I'm a coach and a relationship expert, and I help people communicate. Now, why is the attachment specialist speaking about communication skills right now of all things? Why not attachment? Why not avoidant attachment? Because attachment is all about communication. If you have broken attachment, you communicate in key ways that are broken and unable to meet your needs. You're going to be misunderstood by healthy people because your communication skills are so off. Now, if you grew up with poor attachment in your family, you probably also didn't learn the vital communication skills needed to thrive in your life. You learn just enough communication skills to kind of get your needs met and prevent yourself from getting hurt. That's why you need to learn communication skills now. Even if you've been improving attachment, you feel a little more secure, communication skills is mandatory. That's exactly why communication skills have been part of every plan I've ever built for my thousands of clients over the years, you guys. Communication really is everything. I'll show you. Anxiously attached people will fail to communicate effectively by trying to earn approval from others through their communication, which will feel uncomfortable and drive others away, and that will make you feel rejected and abandoned. Anxiously attached people also won't communicate the vital, important pieces of their experience and their desires because they're afraid to do so, and they never learn to articulate those needs the right way to help other people feel measurable in that relationship and say, this is what you want this often at these times. Yes, I can do that for you. They've never learned how to do that. That's why I have to train them in measurable communication. Avoidantly attached people go the other direction. They fail to communicate effectively by shutting others out or by being too tactical. They shut down any context and they share as little as possible. It's like being in a relationship with a CIA agent. This makes other people think that you're disinterested or that you're judging them or rejecting them, and they'll leave. Now, all of that just reinforces that you think no one will care about you or help you or love you, and that reverts that cycle back to you. I am the problem, or I will always be unhappy. And then you just continue on with broken communication until you fix it. Once you fix the communication, you can fix the attachment. Communication is absolutely vital at the beginning, middle, and end of the process. Today, I'm going to apply my years of teaching experience into this video here to show you exactly how to boost your communication skills in the shortest amount of time possible with the one skill proven effective. Okay? Let's go. So by the end of this video, I am going to teach you a communication approach used by the top 1% of communicators in the world. These are executives at the top of their game, politicians who are climbing the ranks. The best communicators in the entire world use this one approach, and I will teach it to you. To help you understand exactly how and why you're going to need to deploy this master level communication approach, though, I'm going to have to show you what you're doing wrong first and what it's costing you. Only then are you going to be ready to fully utilize this one key strategy that the experts rely upon, that I've relied upon throughout my entire career. Okay? Now, first, what's the #1 problem that I've seen in thousands of cases of poor communication? Now, Don't be upset if this is something you're doing. This is something most people with attachment issues are doing, okay? Ready? Most people who communicate wrong are trying to be interesting by saying the right thing. This might sound like, what? What else is there? What other points of conversation is there? That's what I have to do. No, that is the number one issue that's actually preventing you from achieving your goals and finding happiness in this world, okay? Let me show you what I mean. Insecurely attached people who are insecure about themselves, they try to compensate by being interesting. What they're trying to do is flood the other person with dopamine, with a cool, quick fact, with something funny, something witty. They're trying to trade substance for a quick hit. It's like if somebody's hungry, you walk down and sit down at a table with somebody and you assume they're hungry, so you think you have to feed them. So you say, here, you're really starving. Well, I don't have time to prepare a full, 3-course dinner. Here's a quick candy bar. This will tide you over. Here's another candy bar. Here's another candy bar. Here's another candy bar. Here's another candy bar. This is how people sit down at a table with a hungry person and throw candy bars at them. Okay? This is dopamine. This is an endless dopamine binge that you're pushing the other person through. What people need to be doing is fostering serotonin in the connection with the other person, okay? Now, serotonin is a long-term fulfillment chemical in your brain. It makes you content. It makes you full. If you did sit down with somebody at a table who was hungry and you started feeding them a deeper meal, a heavy protein-rich meal, maybe some clean carbs, meat and potatoes, so to speak, you get serotonin from meat and potatoes. You get dopamine from endless candy bars. Now, if you are hungry and you sit at a table, do you want a full meal or do you just want a bunch of candy bars for the next 3 days? Have you ever tried to exist on just nothing but candy bars for 3 days or 3 years? You get pretty sick. You need the serotonin. But when you have that full, rich meal, which meals do you remember through the course of your life? I bet it's probably not the dopamine sugar meals. I bet you probably remember the best serotonin meals, the meat, the vegetables, the potatoes, the good, full meals that actually really sated your body and your needs, right? Those are the meals your brain will remember. Now, all of this is actually flawed because we've been talking about sitting down at a table with somebody who is helpless and hungry that you have to spoon feed them food. See the difference? We fell into it right there. And that's what most people do that traps themselves. You think you're sitting at a table with a baby that needs to be spoon-fed and you are responsible for feeding them. We forget that the other person is not a passive participant expecting to be entertained in this relationship. But people with attachment issues believe everybody else is a passive participant expecting to be entertained. Now, the urge is to be personally responsible for the conversation quality. On the surface, this doesn't sound bad, but it's terrible. If you feel that you are personally responsible for the entire quality of that conversation, there is something wrong with the conversations you're having. You're speaking to a brick wall, or you're speaking to an infant, okay? A lot of people with attachment issues, though, they fall into that helplessness of not feeling good enough. They feel like if I try to have a conversation with somebody deep to heart, they will see that I am worthless, or I won't be enough for them, or they themselves are unreasonable because other people demand to be entertained. So it's never going to be enough to have a conversation. I have to make them interested. I have to throw interesting things at them. I have to throw endless candy bars at this hungry child who can't feed themselves. I have to feed them endless candy bars or they'll get up and leave from the table. Now, what does this look like? It looks like walking into the conversation with a list of topics you're going to try to bring up. It looks like jumping topics endlessly every time there's a gap. It looks like every time the other person runs out of something to say, or you do, you sit there and go, and then you say, did you know? And you try to introduce a new topic. Or you ask a random, completely disconnected question that veers off hard to the right. It has nothing to do with the previous conversation. It's about ignoring the other person's statements and just trying to throw your own statements out. It's depersonalized conversations that you could have with any person, even a chat program, that has nothing to do with getting to know the other person. Now, this is terrible in several ways. Let me talk to you about what this looks like when you're dating. Okay, a lot of guys come into my coaching practice and they say, Adam, I get 10 first dates every month, but they never get follow-up dates and everybody ghosts me. Okay? If you walk onto your first date trying to throw out endless things, hey, did you know dinosaurs died this 65 million years ago? Hey, did you know Jupiter has a lot of moons? Hey, what's your favorite movie? Hey, this is my favorite movie. Do you like sushi? Yeah, what do you like about sushi? Yeah, what? And you just endlessly throw out weird random topics, you're not getting to know somebody. The message you're sending, honestly, is that you're bored. The message is that they're not good enough for you to learn more about. The message is that your interesting topics are better than them. You're bored of them. Or it tells them something is really wrong with you and you're very nervous and you're hiding a deep, dark secret and they need to get away from you. Or you snorted a bunch of drugs or something like that before. Sometimes that's what they also say. That's the first thing. They're tweaking out, man. That's what you look like when you're just trying to be interesting. Okay? With friends, this looks like you're unwilling to open up. If you're just throwing interesting things out there and never doing the proper skill that I'll teach you here in a moment, it'll look like you're not interested in friendship. It'll look like that you're completely closed off and disconnected. What this is going to look like in your professional life is that people will think that you are being secretive. They're going to think that you're just throwing out interesting facts, but you're never opening up. They're actually going to think that you might be a risk. They're going to wonder what's going on under the surface. They're also going to think that you lack the skills needed to succeed at a social job, which is why promotions are going to get harder. You're not going to be elevated into management positions, leadership positions, places on the front line where you can earn more. You're not going to get the best sales, the best leads. You're going to really be shoved to the back because your social skills are so diminished. That's what's going to happen. So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, crap, I've ruined my life by having these social skills. I hate this. Everything Adam is saying is me. Number one, if you're not in control of the messages that you're accidentally sending to people, then you are sending the wrong messages. This costs you so many opportunities and at least most of the bad feelings in your life. Okay? Let's go through those really quick. And then I'm going to show you, once you understand the cost of not doing the skill, I will teach you step by step exactly how to employ that skill that the top 1% of communicators use. Okay? Really quick. What is bad communication costing you? Number one, low confidence. You know that you're not coming across right, and you think that you don't have anything worthwhile. Especially if you're communicating to be interesting and nobody feels interested, then you're going to start feeling judged and rejected and abandoned, and your self-esteem is going to go down like this. That's going to lead to you feeling very lonely. You're going to feel disconnected from other people, like nobody cares about you, nobody's talking with you. You're not going to know what to do in any kind of relationship situation, and you'll just feel lost. Okay? A lot of loneliness and a lot of frustration. You're going to feel stuck. You're going to wonder, what am I doing wrong? Why is nobody spending this time with me? Why is nobody connecting with me? Why does nobody resonate with me? On dating, right? Endless first dates, ghosting. My guys go through they spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on dates. Some of them spend thousands of dollars on matchmakers and still it's falling through and nobody can pin down the problem. And it's that one communication issue that I'm about to teach you. Relationships that end from misunderstandings is another big piece of this. Have you lost relationships because you couldn't communicate right? Have you lost relationships because someone said they felt like you didn't care about them? There's also missing out on job opportunities, you guys, and no promotions, job interviews, getting the nicer job or going up a level, right? You have to be able to communicate effectively or you will not be able to build your professional life into what you want it to be. If you're in sales or other business areas that require communication, you're going to have a really hard time. Communication is everything in these areas. It's not about manipulating people through communication. It's about actually conveying value, conveying what they need, and helping them understand that what you're offering is the right fit for them. It's never about manipulation. It's about communication. Communication really is the skill that lays the foundation for success in life. And when I teach about fixing attachment, communication is at the heart of being able to do that. You have to be able to communicate with other people. This is why people watch my videos and they're like, Adam, I've learned so much, but I don't know how to apply it. Yes, because you don't have the exact communication tips you need to be able to take that information on your inside and give it to the other person in the correct way. That's why I have my mentorship community, the Attachment Circle, to teach you twice a week how to do that. That's why I have my coaching program for an accelerated growth. Communicate this way, speak to this person, say this, then go tell this person this, then do this. That's the vast majority of what coaching is with me, is teaching you exact communication skills so that you can then go make those changes as fast as possible. So now that we've gone through this, let's talk about that one skill that changes your communication style so completely that it transforms you into a master communicator. This is the one skill also that changed my life, professionally, personally, everything. So I'm happy to teach this to you, okay? Let's dive into it right now. I learned this skill from listening to a famous female executive talk in an interview about her experience in the business world. I was listening to this interview where she was talking about going into a job interview, a top level corporation, okay? She talked about how she had mastered those interviews at global corporations where she'd be entrusted with billions of dollars in business, and how she could get in C-suite executive positions without even having to answer hardly any questions at job interviews. In fact, many of her interviews would go through a single interview and they'd hire her right there on the spot at the end of that interview. Almost unheard of at this level, okay? The secret, she said, was to ask questions. In fact, to ask so many questions that the interviewer didn't even have a chance to ask her any questions. Now, this is not mindlessly firing off stupid, pointless questions. It wasn't asking them if they like sushi, what their favorite movie is, if they know how many moons Jupiter has. It wasn't introducing random, stupid topics. There's a very specific art of asking questions here. Instead, she asked very focused questions that would then branch off of the answers and ask additional questions based on what they had just told her. This showed tremendous curiosity about the role, about the company, about her mastery of the subject. She could ask the core direct questions that would make them go, whoa, this person knows what they're talking about. They'd have to dig through their notes. They'd have to send a text and get the answer, because she could rattle off intelligent questions endlessly while getting her interviewer talking the whole time. And she'd keep them rolling, right? And she'd ask more questions. So you just said this. Tell me more about this piece. Hey, I'd love to hear more about this. What are you doing over here? Wow. How are you doing with this? Have you solved this problem that usually pops up? Okay. Tell me more about your guys' solution. Oh, well, that's cool. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about the team that works over there. If I'm going to be working with you guys, right? She slipped that in. Then what's that team like? Talk to me about that. And she would just ask them all these questions and keep them going the whole time. They didn't even have time to ask her any questions. Now, what she was doing was showing them her leadership, but she was also showing them curiosity, her expertise, and then making them really like her. As she said, the interviewers adored her. They thought she was phenomenal. So they'd walk out offering that job and shake hands in the hallway and hire her. Okay. It occurred to me when I heard this that this approach is true everywhere. Everywhere. And when you look at the science, it makes sense. So what you're doing is you're introducing serotonin to the other person. Remember how we talked about sitting down at a table, throwing candy bars to the other person? Well, imagine if you walk down, you sit down at a table, not with a passive infant, but another person. And you say, we're going to share a meal together. Here's something I cooked. And you lay out and dish up meat, potatoes, savory, salty, everything. It's this phenomenal dish that you've cooked. And then you're going to share this dish together. Is that a better bonding process, do you think? Yes. In fact, most human bonding is improved through the use of food like this, especially serotonin. Okay. Now, as you ask questions of the other person, it expresses curiosity in them. Curiosity is so crucial, you guys. I can't even overstate it. In dating, when you're curious about the other person, that is you expressing interest. Now, that's a better series of expressing interest than just saying, hey, you're really hot. Hey, I really like you. Hey, we should go. It's saying, tell me more about you as a person. I want to learn about you. Yeah. Physical stuff. Yes, romance. But tell me about you as a person. I really want to learn more. You said this. Talk to me about that. Wow. Tell me more about your life. As you're interested in them, it shows that you're interested. Guys ask all the time, how am I supposed to know a woman's interested in me? She will ask you questions. If a woman's not asking you questions, there's a serious problem. How can you show interest in a woman? Asking her more questions. And it's not about just badgering her with endless questions. It's about genuinely having a spirit of curiosity. In friendship, this tells the other person you even care about them. This tells them that you think you are their friend. You want to learn about them. I would actually like to know more about you. I'd like to understand you. Maybe even how to help you, how we can work together, and how we can really support each other. Curiosity in personal relationships is incredibly important. It's also important in professional relationships. As I showed you, that female executive, she attributes that to most of her high-level positions she's achieved, and most of her financial success as well, is being able to interview her interviewers. And again, it's not about asking and badgering with mindless questions. It's about really being curious. It's about showing some of your information that you have by asking the right questions as well. Curiosity is incredibly powerful, you guys. Opening questions is where you start. Now, this is the only time you really need to start prepping. We talked a little bit before about how people who prep too many topics usually have a problem. You should be prepping your opening questions, okay? Opening questions can include why, how, open-ended things. Instead of saying, do you like this? Hey, you know what? Tell me about you. What's your profession and why do you do it? How did you become a blank, right? Why do you live in this city? That's a great question. Why do you live in this city? Why this one? Tell me why. Maybe you grew up here. That's fantastic. Tell me more about that. Your parents live here. Tell me about them. What's your family like? Right? One question can easily follow into the next question. And that's the next part. The second part here is asking follow-up questions. You know what? How the other person is what do you do for a living and why? Oh, I'm the attachment specialist. Wow. Well, tell me what led you into that? Well, this and this and this, boom, boom, boom. Here's this kind of a story. Cool. Usually people, if you ask a why, people will tell you a bit of a story. Stories are gold mines, by the way, because they'll throw out random pieces of information you can circle back to and follow up on. Okay. Absolutely crucial that you do that. You put a pin in it, you come back to it. Hey, a moment ago you said this. Tell me more about that. That's cool. Hey, you mentioned this. What's that like? Tell me more. Wow, I'd love to learn about that. I know a little bit about that. Here's what I know. Have you had this problem, right? Hey, I've heard that X, Y, and Z. Is that true? And if not, what's different? Asking questions like that, being genuinely curious. Treat this as an opportunity to learn about that person and about all the things they're going to tell you about. Now, again, open-ended. Well, you're a plumber. Do you like it? Cool. When do you work? Oh, those days of the week. Okay. Did you know that Jupiter has, this many moons? No, that's the problem. Closed-ended questions. Open-ended. Wow, you're a plumber. What got you into that line of work? Wow. Okay. What's your favorite part of being a plumber? I can imagine the worst part of being a plumber, but maybe what's like the second worst part of being a plumber that nobody knows about. There's a great line right there that you can include. Now, this is follow-up questions. Okay. As you keep going down that road, you may hit an end where you're like, I don't know what to ask. This is called branching questions. You go back down the branch to the tree. You go back down the tree. You ask where those pins are. You say, a moment ago, you mentioned you're a plumber, but you also mentioned that you do martial arts on the weekends. Tell me about that. What do you do? How do you beat people up? What's your skill? Right? Your hands, feet, your forehead. How do you attack people? Ask them about their skills. Ask them about their growth, right? Ask them about that. Are you doing Shotokan Karate? Are you doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Right? What is it? What's your piece? What do you work on? Or who got you into this? Or all these questions, branching questions. Go back down, ask an additional one. All of these will give you information to work with. A lot of information to work with. I will also ask this. People will ask you questions sometimes in return. This actually shows that they're curious in you and they're interested. Really polite people especially will ask you questions in return. Sometimes they get wrapped up in answering the questions if you're really great at this, but they'll often ask you questions, okay? Asking questions of you, fantastic sign. This is where most guys screw up. So they either fall under a 50% ratio of sharing almost nothing because they think, oh, Adam said I have to ask questions. And then they share nothing. And then you look super secretive and evasive and you're interviewing and interrogating. Or they go overboard and way over communicate until the other person's eyes glaze over. Okay. Not that many women do this. Mostly guys do, but I've seen it with a couple of women as well. I use what's called the 2/3 model. If somebody asks you a question, you answer about 2/3 the length of whatever their previous answer was. And then you give it back with another question. Okay, you must follow up with an additional question on something they have said. Either something they said, or you follow up with that and say, hey, what about you? But even what about you is a great way to segue back into them. And then you can ask them additional follow-up questions. And this is how you're supposed to run a conversation. This one change transforms your entire communication approach because it decreases your stress. You guys, if you thought that conversations were exhausting because you had to plan for them and be on guard and try to figure it all out and make the other person entertained, you're wrong. You're just wrong. You've been doing it wrong this entire time. That's why you probably don't have friends. That's why you probably don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. That's probably why you're watching this video right now, trying to learn communication skills because you're frustrated. It's because you tried to be interesting with statements instead of asking questions and being curious. This changes everything. Whether you're at the very bottom, just barely beginning a career, you're 18 years old, you're getting a job in retail, or you're that top 1% global executive who's going to walk in and ace that job interview. Either way, wherever you are in there, this is the way you need to communicate. This is one of the best approaches for any communication strategies anywhere that you can start implementing. You need to start communicating this way immediately. Your stress will come way down. Now, your confidence will go way up because people will be responding to you so drastically different. They're going to feel engaged and seen and really interested. They'll be interested in you. Okay? Stop being interesting. Start being interested. Be interested in the other person. Be curious about them. They will feel good and love it and want to communicate with you and probably want to learn about you in return. Your self-confidence goes up because now all these people are really interested in you. This change brings the biggest single impact, especially to dating for men, and it makes them even more attractive to women. So in your dating life, this communication approach, absolutely crucial. Start communicating with this approach immediately so that you can say goodbye to all of those negative effects, all that poor communication that we talked about, and you can start getting what you want in life. You guys, you started off crying as a baby. We all do. It is time for you to learn to use your communication to truly bond and connect with other people by showing curiosity in them instead of just trying endlessly to articulate something interesting. Don't throw candy bars. Be interested. Be curious. Ask questions. Now, I've helped thousands of people achieve this communication transformation personally, and I know firsthand how powerful this approach can be. I've done it in my own life. Some men, especially, they go for endless first dates and ghosting to finally landing that loving girlfriend who really appreciates him. A lot of my female clients, they've spent years in professional limbo without getting any promotions at all, and they can't even ask for them, to finally securing that new job or that position they've been dreaming of just by interviewing the right way. Okay. I learned this again from a female executive. Really important. My executive clients use this approach to seem less self-absorbed from always talking about their goals and that they're pursuing. They look self-absorbed, and they do this intentionally to start conveying how much they really do care about their team and about their loved ones. This is a crucial skill if you're already successful to be able to show other people that you are not a narcissist, right? The terrible buzzword. It shows them that you're interested in them, and it starts building really connected, fulfilling relationships with other people. So if you've been frustrated in your communication approaches, start asking more questions, especially the important questions, especially curious questions, and then follow up on those questions, and then use branching questions, okay? Ask more questions, and then ask even more questions after that. Never stop. I don't care if you're married for 60 years. I've been married for 15 years with my wife, and we're still asking each other questions because we're always wanting to learn. How are you growing? How are you changing? What are you thinking? What are you learning? Who are you today? How can I help you better? We're always asking questions, and it helps us understand that the other person still loves us. Now, if you do this, your relationships and your life satisfaction will grow quickly. I know this transformation leads to great things, but it really is only one part of a lifestyle of relating better to other human beings. So if you need additional help building an even larger transformation, I recommend you check out my Attachment Circle mentorship program, where we work on skills just like this one all the time. We would love to have you in there with us. For now, I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. And for the men in the audience who are wanting to learn to talk with the women in their life, I'm going to see you in the next video. How to talk to women. Use these effortless communication hacks. It's all about learning how to communicate, you guys. I'll talk to you in the next video.